suspect that most of us that join these calls are helpers of some sort or another. I think that's just innate in us. And so we finished up with the existing series that we had going on, and now are expanding this series in a 4-part series that will be during May. And if you attend all 4 sessions and take the big test at the end, no, I'm kidding, there's no big test at the end. If you attend all 4 parts, though, of the series, we will be able to award you with a certificate of completion. And additionally, if you'd like to have credits from Sitting Bull College, we can make that happen as well. If you have any questions as we're going along, please let me know. You can put them into the chat. And without any further out of me, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Darrell, and he'll do what he does so well. Thank you, everybody, for being here today.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to talk shorter, and that'll give Jondi more time. But I just want to set the table. We've been meeting like this for almost 6 months now, and we started with the kind of the foundations of understanding trauma. We talked about the vagus nerve. We talked about somatic work, understanding the information the body's giving us. We talked about very foundational tools that we need to know to understand to how we can go from dealing to healing, to helping the body use its existing internal tools to heal. And it's gone great. You guys have been wonderful. And I had my ace in my pocket was tapping. That I wanted to make sure we got all this foundational information, and then end with the tool that I can say now that we're in the tapping section is my favorite tool. It is my go-to tool. That's I see folks move the needle significantly in a short amount of time. And one of the slogans for tapping is "Feel better fast." Getting you feel better fast, and that's really what I have seen it do. And it's pretty amazing. So for me, when I first heard about it, I thought, it was a bridge a little too far for me. But the more I recognized that I needed different tools and more tools and depth and breadth in my toolbox, I thought, let me see what this is about. And I have just been blown away. And that's when I met Jondi, and she trained me on it. And she is just a great teacher, and she and I have been in Canada and across the US together, teaching this tool. It's a great opportunity. She's one of the best anywhere in teaching this tool. So it's a great opportunity for us. I think that's enough of me, Jondi. Take it away. If you need me, I'm right here to jump in.
Yes, don't go anywhere.
I'll be right there.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Jondi, and I'm pleased that you're with us today. And I hope that you will feel free and you will feel the, let's just say, the warmth and support coming from me, that at any time you can raise your hand and ask a question or challenge that. I'm good with that, because this is the way that we learn best, I think, interactively talking with one another. And also it helps defeat the Zoom fatigue of just incoming information. In this way, I hope you'll reach out to me at any time and we'll just be able to talk. I've been doing this about 20 years. All kinds of energy work, but the one that Darrell mentioned, tapping, is a specific family of work that we just both love, and we love it because it is efficient and it's effective. And so that sort of solves the human problem of doing things for reasons that make sense to you, right? Hey, this works, this feels good, this is fast, I like it, of course I'm going to use it again. And so this is sort of the proof is in the pudding. And Darrell and I have consistently been surprised sometimes. I don't know, let's try it on that. I don't know if it's going to work. But Darrell always makes me laugh so much when he goes, I'm just always gobsmacked that worked. And I'll give you a perfect example of everyday use that just happened yesterday. And I'm telling you this because it sounds really dumb, but it's the kind of stuff that happens every day that transforms our daily experience of being alive and happy. So I go to the post office. I have a zillion things to mail from this big event that I just did. And I'm mailing out all this stuff. And I see that I'm going to be paired with the person at the post office desk that I really don't care to work with very much. She's not fun and demanding and frequently nasty. And I said, "Ugh," and I have all this to get through. And then I went, Johnny, my goodness, what's wrong with you? Why don't you tap? You don't have to feel like this dread. I'm going to have to go deal with her. Just tap. So right there in the post office, I was actually just kind of doing it in my mind, doing little bits on my body so I didn't draw any attention to myself. But I'm telling you, I did 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And there's this long-term adversary behind the postal window goes, "Oh, hi, how you doing? You changed your hair. How's everything today?" Blew me away. This is a person who almost never says anything and is just always in a consistently bad mood. It just transforms things that fast. So like Daryl was saying, gobsmacked. I was just like, really? That's all it took for things to change? That's amazing to me. Now I know that sounds really stupid, but I want you to try it out on something stupid in your own life and go, wow, all right, that actually works. So things that are not stupid right now. Let's go to how we look at all this, because what we're talking about, let's see, I'm going to share my screen with you right over here, right over here. And here we go. I'm going to actually do the larger one of this slideshow, I guess. Oh, okay. So I got this idea from talking to Daryl, and Annie just mentioned that word again. This idea of sovereignty or self-sovereignty over our life, ourself, our body, our life experience, that is something that tapping is going to, I believe, give to you. And in this particular case, we're going to start this week on what I'd call a area of tapping that is called emotional first aid, which is kind of an interesting name. And what does that mean? Well, first of all, let's see why we want to do that at all. We're going to use these modern holistic energy tools that Daryl's been talking about, but we're going to use them precisely for practical application of everyday living. And how are we going to do that? We're going to look at the body and the messages that come from the body that Daryl's been talking about. We're going to do it from our heart, or our idea of the heart, meaning an emotional state. What does that information tell us? And also then our minds and the patterns and meaning we've made of things, which is what humans do. That's just how we're built. So emotional first aid and energy psychology are just names for this area of work for well-being. And I like to say specifically, it's about tools to manage stress and whatever life throws at us. And that can be just stress, or it can be big, something that's traumatic happening. So simple tools to manage the effects of stress and traumatic experience, even if it's not ours, it might just be observed or read about, on our mind, our body, our emotions, and ways that you as mentors and peer helpers can help foster your own self-care, but then you're going to spread that self-regulating skill that you've learned for self-care to everyone around you. So that blesses them too. So in this particular case, what is emotional first aid? Let me just run down some of this. It's for us and others. It can calm or soothe us. They are techniques or strategies or interventions for in the moment that allow us to return to a grounded state, a calmer state, return to your resources, AKA everything that you know to do. We can use them ourselves, we can use them with another person, we can use them in a group, all the same. It's just how you point the tools in your toolbox, right? And more importantly, even still, no, it's not fair to say more. Let's say just as importantly, we know and we have evidence that this can help prevent the symptoms of post-traumatic stress, PTS, and the long-term effects of traumatic experience by addressing the somatic responses that our body is having to that situation quickly in the now, not letting that go. So let's see, I'm going to move this window again so we can see and move that. Okay, so energy psychology is simply a big area of all this. And let's just say all of it is about self-regulation techniques for calming mind, body, and emotions. But it's not all in the moment tapping. It's bigger than that. So let's just say energy psychology is the granddad, and emotional first aid is a very small, immediate sort of way of looking at things. And that's what I want to teach you in today's class. Just so you know, this is not hearsay. There are over 100 peer-reviewed evidence-based studies published in professional journals in the world right now, including, I believe we're up to 7 meta-studies, which simply means in my book, hey, there's a lot of data out there that they can even do a meta-study. So that's really great because it's one of the protocols that has the most modern testing behind it, clinical field trial testing. So I want to review this simply because of the construct. I'm biologically wired for survival. Like I have the fight and the flight and the freeze and the flop and the fawn. I've got all this stuff now that we've been talking about recently, like obvious things, aggressive responses to threat, running away, backing away, or hiding, or even, by the way, I didn't put it on the slide, but I should have. Distractions is another version of flight, according to Steve Porges, who is very big these days, talking about the vagus nerve or the polyvagal response. Freeze, we all know that. Immobility in the face of threat. And we all know probably from our clients, this is one of the biggest problems they wrestle with. Why did I freeze? Why didn't I fight? Why didn't I? Why didn't I? Why didn't I? Okay, it's one of our survival wirings, just like flop. If I have nothing else that I can possibly do, either my system will shut down or I will actually leave my body mentally. I'll come back when it's safer, right? These are all the tools I'm wired to survive with. But what are we talking about? We're talking about thrive. Thrive is not our innate toolbox. Survive is. So how do we thrive? And where do we need that? Well, in my experience, when we have bad things happen, sometimes it sticks. This really stays with me. I don't know why I can't let that go. Or our usual way of handling things suddenly don't work. Well, what I learned to do about that was working fine. And then all of a sudden it didn't work. Or our bandwidth, otherwise known as um, our window of stress or our threshold kind of there's lots of ways of saying this, but I know you know what I mean. That threshold of tolerance over time gets narrower if we don't have any release for it. It's just more, 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 more. It's like filling our bucket until it's not only too heavy to carry, but it's sloshing everywhere. So simply put, we just need some better tools. Now, Daryl's been talking to you about the autonomic nervous system, our sympathetic to the outside environment, our parasympathetic to rest and repair. Been talking about our limbic midbrain system with the alarms and the cascade of chemicals that allow us to do what our body needs to survive. The polyvagal system with all of its neuroception. He's been talking about all this and how we gauge felt sense safety and how we come back online from ventral or dorsal. We want to get ventral again, in other words. He's been talking about that. He's the expert on that. And I'm just going to go, you know what? I'm going to do it in conversational speak, and I'm going to show you first how to come to a felt sense of safety in yourself, because this is your true north when you're operating and choosing to go forward. I have to have a felt sense of safety or I'm not actually going anywhere. This harkens all the way back to Abraham Maslow. The next is about stabilizing, just getting grounded enough to take stock of what can I do? And it can be as stupid, as I told you before, about just having to go through another terrible experience of an hour with a really nasty person. And then the next step up is called self-regulation. And that is about actively engaging those strategies or interventions so that I can come back to a fully resourced state. And that's what I want. I did want to point out to you that borrowing benefits is a terminology that we use a lot in the energy world. And what that really means is that we can get stuff done for ourselves while we're helping other people. And I think that's one of the best kind of multitasking you could ever do. What does it mean, borrowing benefits? It's a phenomenon. It's a verb, I'm doing it. And it's also a noun, it's an outcome. I guess that's the same as the phenomenon. So what's happening here? And I'd like to ask you to engage with me and try it this week. There's nothing I'm going to ask you to do I haven't done, by the way, and there's nothing that you have to do. But I do think that you might be surprised what you find out. So I'm going to ask you to try this if you want. So everybody, no matter what we're doing, always comes to a place where we're listening to something. We can watch TV, talk to somebody, be in a seminar, and suddenly we find our mind is going back to that thing we're still trying to work out. Anybody ever been there? Yeah, me too. So what I'd like you to do is I want you to take stock of something that's going on with us. This would mean something current, something not the hugest thing that ever happened, but we're still trying to work it out. And so I'm going to ask you to set your intention with this workshop to just get some traction, some positive traction on that. It could be calmer. It could feel bigger perspective. It could be, I feel less anxious about it. It could be, I have some ideas about how I might go about it differently. We'll see. So we're going to try it. If I use these all the time. These are index cards. And on the index card, I would write something very common, like, for instance, I'm going to say, now when I say this, nobody knows what I'm talking about but me, the packing. Nobody knows what's going on, but it's on my mind. It's sort of an ongoing situation, and that's just the truth. So I wrote down these words. The second thing I'm going to ask you to write down is about how much does that bother me right now? And that can be 0 to 10. 10's huge, 0's nothing. It could be some kind of measurement on your paper with your hands. It could be metaphorical. It's like this constant bouncing ping pong ball in my head. Whatever it is for you, would you take 2 seconds, just write it down? Okay. And now I'm going to ask you to take what you wrote down and turn it over and just put it somewhere else on your desk. Just turn it over. Sort of like out of our mind, onto the paper and over there. We're going to see if that works as both an operational way to deal with intrusive thoughts, as well as borrowing benefits to see what it might change for you today. Okay, so thanks for doing that. Okay, so that was the slide. How about that? This thing bugs me right now about how much. Anything else to write about it? Okay, we set it aside. Right. I forgot I had that slide. Okay, now that we've set that aside, let's just do a little group exercise here, because I'm going to start introducing you to kinetic or somatic things that you could do, otherwise known as in the moment strategies. And they're going to be so simple, you're not going to believe they can even be helpful. But the great news is they're so simple, you could do them anytime, anywhere, and get some relief. So let's see if that's true for you. I hope that it is, but we'll see. You will be the judge of that. Okay. So anybody here ever get tension in the neck? Let's say you're feeling stressed about something. And I can't see all your faces, but I have faith that you're there. So I'm just trying to connect with you and asking if you have tension in your neck. It's very common. I'd like you to take a moment to measure that. And when I say measure, just notice. So right now, if I was doing that, I might even do an experiment to measure it. I might go a little bit to my left, a little bit to my right. And in my case, I'm just noticing this one crackles and pops a little bit, and this one is tenser than the other side. And if I had to ask how much, overall, I have an idea. Okay, what's in my head? That's just from the day, just tension of living, right? So now we're going to apply what we could call acupoint tapping and breathing. And all that means is we're going to be engaging some of the points on our face and our torso and our hands. This one is exceedingly simple, and it goes like this. Let's take your palm. Your hands, by the way, are a total hologram of your entire body, like the bottom of your feet, like your ears, even like your irises. But right now we're just going to take the palm and we're going to put it on the top of the sternum, the high chest right there. And it's going to cover a few acupuncture points we'll talk about in a minute. But right now I'm just placing it there. And I'd like you to just become aware of that. There is a light pressure on that area. It's warm. It might even be soothing. This is my hand on my chest. And this is me taking care of me, is the thought that I want to keep teaching you today. This is me taking care of me. Okay. Right now, I'm just going to ask you if you'll breathe with me. And I'm going to ask you to do some breathing that I just call 3 by 3, meaning 3 times 3 breaths. So I'm going to ask you if you'll breathe normally in through the nose and then let it go out through the mouth. And I'm making my breath noisy so we can breathe together. In and out. And in and out. Let's just add to this a little bit. Remember, I told you both hands represent the whole body. Let's take the other hand and let's put that one on. Now we have both hands at work here. Again, warm, a little bit of pressure. This is me. And I'm going to breathe with you, okay? In and out. And in and out. I'm noticing a longer out on my exhale and in and out. Good. And I promised you 3 times. You don't have to, but I'm just going to go ahead and make good on that promise because I like to. One more time in and out and in and all the way out. Last time. In and out. Good job. Let me ask you now to put your hands down and let's wait on that for a second. Let me just ask you, would you notice what you notice about your neck tension? And I think a good way to do that is do the same test you did a moment before. So whatever you did the moment before, I'm just going to ask you to do it again. And remember, this is sort of everyday life neck tension. And now I'm noticing how it might be different, if it is different. And may I ask you, some brave soul, may I ask you to speak up and just notice what you notice? And any answer is fine, by the way. Would somebody unmute?
I can. I
Thank you so
noticed.
much.
I noticed relief, which I think I was looking for. And so I'm conscious of that. I don't want to, look for results, but one
Mhm.
side was tighter than the other, probably because of sleeping. And I'm like kind of in shock that just breathing with your hands on your chest can relieve stress. It's very empowering.
Thank you so much. I couldn't have written that better. Daryl, did you get this lady from Central Casting? Um, that's wonderful because that is, in fact, some of the same things I noticed, but I try not to make the mistake of thinking everybody will feel the same way, but the percentage is pretty high that they do. But anyone else, I would like them to weigh in, and that doesn't mean you have to echo what Emma said at all. Anything at all you noticed is perfectly okay, because I feel like this works best when we tell the simple truth. Anyone else want to weigh in, for better or worse? And it's hard for me to connect with you because a lot of you, I don't have any camera, so I don't have anyone to look at. Anyone feel like weighing in with or without their camera?
I can.
Thank you, Daryl.
I was I wrote down neck tension, but then was kind of very passive in what we were doing, Jondi.
Mhm.
But did the exercise passively with kind of relying on your guidance, your intention,
Mhm.
and doggone it, it worked. And that just if I scaled it, I mean, I wasn't a rock or anything beforehand. I was probably like at a 5 as far as tension goes.
Good.
But measuring it, I mean, it's probably a 1 or a 2 now. But that was very passively with your guidance and with your intention. Still, my subconscious glommed onto that and said, here's what we're doing and here's what you need right now.
I love how you put that.
Go ahead.
I love how you put that because it is intentional. I mean, we're here by intention to learn something useful. We're here spending our time together to see if there's something beneficial for us. And when we go along with the exercise to see if that might be helpful to us, as Emma said, we are looking to see if that's useful, positive, helpful, whatever. And when it is, that's great. It's sort of like we've honored that intention, but we're using our body to do it instead of just our mind. And that's really what the emotional first aid techniques are all about, using the body to help the mind heal or ground or reset. Choose your word. So thank you for that. If anybody has anything else to say, go ahead and shout it out, because I'm going to now ask you to do something else. But all questions are good and they're entertaining. So I was going to ask you to try something a little different. Same idea, just a little bit different, because I don't know, maybe we're all from Missouri and we're looking for somebody to just show us, right? Not tell me, not convince me, show me. Okay, so let's do that. Let's think about that thing that was on your card that I put upside down. You don't have to turn it over to know what is on it. I know you know what's on it. So when you lightly bring that to mind, I would like you to notice, where does that go off in your body? Now, a moment ago, I suggested to you, it's very popular to feel life stress in your neck. This time, I'm saying that thing that bugs me or is going on in my mind right now, where in my body do I feel that responding or reflecting as tension or a sensation of any kind in my body? And it's going to be different for everybody. I mean, there's popular places, but still, it could be anywhere. So I'd just like you to make a note of that. So that means somewhere this thing that I wrote on my card is in my body going off as a response to the upset or the overwhelm or the tension of that thought. And I'd like you to answer the question for yourself about how much is my body responding with, and what is it like 2 questions. About how much and what is it like? So in my card right now, I've got this thing that's going on. And on this side of my card, I'm writing this thing. When I bring it lightly to mind and I think about where is it going off, I see that it's here. And about how much I'm thinking, well, it's not so bad, which is great. So this card says this thing I'm thinking about, and I'm feeling it at the small of my back. And I'm feeling it at approximately a level 4. That's just how it is for me. Anybody else could have anything else. So if you would write down what that's like for you, the thing that's being reflected to you as information from your body about that thing. Now I would like you to do this kind of emotional first aid. Again, it doesn't have words to it, but I will describe where we're going as we do it. So if everybody would please, open-minded, just check this out. I like to use my finger pads instead of my tips, my finger pads, and I most often use the index and middle finger. And I'm going to use 2 of them, 2 fingers tapping, and I'm going to tap underneath my iris. My finger pads are landing right underneath my iris, but they're on the bone, my occipital bone, and I'm just going to tap, and I'm not going to forget to breathe. So I'm going to breathe audibly again, okay? Now I'm going to move down underneath. At the bottom of my throat, there are these 2 knobs. Sort of protects my whole throat bottom there. And it's my clavicle. But we call those collarbones. And those knob things, right underneath the knobs, there's a little indentation in our flesh, just a tiny bit. It's a little softer, a little lower. Those things. So I'm going to use my fingers, and I'm going to tap right underneath the knobs, and I'm just going to breathe. Good. Now I'm going to ask you to hit your thymus point, which is just down from the collarbones like a V. And so it would be over my heart, still my high chest or my sternum. And I'm tapping away. You can use 2 or 3, doesn't matter, whatever is comfortable for you. And I'm just going to ask you to breathe. Good. Last one. There's only 4 parts to this, and that's going to be underneath our arms along our rib cage. And so you could do it like this. So I'm using my fingers and tapping into my rib cage, or you could cross your arms and they will naturally fall there, and use again your fingertips to tap on your rib cage, the side of your rib cage. And let's breathe. Good. So that was just 4 thumps, as they call them. And we could, of course, do them very quickly again. Let's do that without all the conversation so you can see how quick this is, okay? Think of the thing that bugs you. Now do this. That's it. That's it. I'd like you to bring back lightly to mind that thing. Look at what you wrote down. Where do I feel that going off in my body? And what is it like? Now, any answer again is completely fine, but I would love it if somebody would share with me their own experience of this, because after all, it's not my experience, it's yours. Anyone?
Hi, my name is Dahlia. I'm not going to be on camera today, but
Okay.
yeah, mine was pretty significant for me, and it was, I think, the third position right before the ribs.
Mhm.
And if I kind of do it right now, I instantly felt pain there.
Mhm.
But it's kind of funny because where I said that that I was at a level 6 and it was in my lungs, and that's kind of in that area. And when I actually tapped on it, I said, "Oh my God, wow." It was really intense out of all the areas that we just did. So that was really cool. Thank you.
Well, good. And I'm hoping that it's not still painful, though. It's just, could you help me out?
Sure. No, by painful, I mean, the thing is emotional, but when I, like, even if I touch it now, it was a physical sensation to what I was actually feeling, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. I got that. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Oh, thank
And
you.
that's great. Thank you very much for sharing, because as I said, everybody's different. Their experience is different. Each one of us, our system runs differently, and that's good. It's okay. I just wanted to see if anyone else had another experience of what that was like. Again, it was 4 tapping spots with breathing, and then we came back to what we were working on to notice, what is that like now, right? Anybody else wanted to give anything, including something that you didn't like? It's completely okay.
Hello, I'm
Hello.
Deanna. So part of the issue is I'm also tired right now. So I think that affects anything else that's bothering me.
Yes.
And particularly with the under the eye tapping,
Mhm.
it felt like, and it sounded like a drum beat.
Mhm.
I could hear that going in there. And so the overall practice just felt peaceful, and it kind of woke me up a little bit. And so
Okay.
then when I think about that issue, it's less kind of immediate, or less, I'm less grumpy about it. I think just
Yeah.
kind of that overall energy and wakefulness.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. I like this added idea of I could wake up, or I can even derive a little energy from it when I was feeling tired. That's an added benefit right there. I like the idea that it can transform. And that's really what we're talking about. How can I use a simple strategy as an intervention and whatever's going on for me to transform the experience into something better? And hopefully that better is going to be very apparent to us, that it's more resourceful, grounded, peaceful, more myself, more able to deal. That's what I was really going for there. So somehow I lost that. There we go. Okay. So I want to point out that one of the things I promised you right up front is that if I deal with things more quickly, they will probably not be able to get to the point where I now have a post-traumatic kind of symptom or sensation, because I'm sort of taking care of business all through the day. I'm not letting it build up until I blow up, if that makes sense to anybody. And in so doing, that would be sort of the ultimate self-care, right? So anxiety, fears, emotional distress, all of us have that sometimes, or jumpy, hypervigilant may be part of our background, or it may be just in relation to something that happened to us. Restlessness or inability to sleep. Boy, howdy, there's so many of those people undergoing that, especially since COVID now, right? That fatigue, disconnected, numb kind of thing when you've just had too much and you have to kind of shut down. Stomach and digestive problems. I can't get through television show without looking at like 3 different concoctions that they're selling me for irritable bowel syndrome, right? There's a reason for all this. But all these aches and pains, and what is often called psychosomatic symptoms, which some people take great offense to, but essentially what I'm saying is it's as real as anything else. The problem is I need to take care of it. And so I'm showing you interventions for everyday living that can do just that. They can make a healthy impact on all these types of things. So When I come back to this idea, taking a moment to listen to the body, I want to practice what I preach. So when I go back to what I wrote on my sheet when we first started here, I want you to name that thing again. Did the name of it clarify or get more specific? I'm just curious. You don't have to tell me anything, but I would like you to use this as part of your awareness or noticing. Now that I look at this, I see that my word actually changed. It got much more specific. I don't know about yours, but my thing that I shared with you, not embarrassed to do it. I said the packing was what was going off in my mind a lot. And what happened as I'm doing this, wrong idea. There you go. As I'm doing this self-care, I'm realizing it's not about the packing. It's about feeling a lack of preparation. That's a horse of a different color. They're definitely related, but this one is much more, this one is much more acute to what's really going on. So I find this a very useful tool. So what do I make of it, which is on our screen here? What do I make of it? Well, that's what I make of it. I see what's really going on. It's not about this, it's about this. And that's very helpful, useful information. It helps me to describe that. And so now you see at the bottom of the screen, let's tell the simple truth about it, right? And we're going to do some tapping of a different kind. So put your, I guess I should say, excuse me, take a moment, jot down anything you wanted to. I was on a Jondi roll there. So if you had anything you wanted to say about that, please do take a quick little note for yourself so I don't hustle you along there. But I would like you to take what you wrote just now, and I want you to move into a different kind of self-care tapping. Emotional first aid starts moving into meaning, not just sensation here. And so taking what you found out, I'd like you to tap on the blade edge of your hand. Again, use those 2 fingers tapping. Go over to the blade edge of your hand there, and you just tap alongside it. It's somewhere in between the end of your pinky and the beginning of your wrist bones. There's a fleshy part. You just tap there. And I want you to say the simple truth. And I showed you mine, but since we're a group, I think it's easier if I say something like, the truth is, this thing bugs me, but I'm getting some more clarity on it in my tapping. And the classic phrases that we use with tapping is we say something that is at work in the world, something truthful that's going on with us right now. And then the other side, I'm just showing you so it's balanced. The other side of the sentence is, I deeply and completely accept myself. But since most of us don't, it's a recipe kind of statement. And I would rather just say acknowledgement of what is the simple truth. So taking all those many words I just gave you, I'm going to go right back and say, this thing bugs me. And that's the truth. Okay. And I usually do it 3 times because I'm helping myself really focus on that thing instead of every other thing. So I'm going to say it again. And I say, this thing bugs me. And that's how it is right now. And I'm going to say it one more time. Yep. This thing bugs me. All right. And I'm working on it. Okay. Now I would like you to use this very phrase I gave you, this thing, because it's true for you. I don't have to know about it. You don't have to share it with me. And we don't have to go into detail right now. But I'm going to use those 2 fingers and I'm going to hit these other acupressure points. And I'm just going to repeat the words that keep me on track instead of thinking about something else. So I'm going to go this thing. And that's right at the top of my head, as if you could go above your ears. This thing. And I'm going to take off my glasses there. Do you see where the nose and the eyebrow meet? I'm going to do this side. It doesn't matter which side you do, but I'm going to say this thing. That's our reminder phrase. And then come across the eyebrow to the side of the eye. That's the bony part on the side of your eye. And I'm going to say it again, this thing. And then right back underneath the eye. We've tried that spot before, you remember? This thing. And then under your nose, there's a little trough there before your lips. I'm going to say, this thing bugs me. And then under your lips, that other little trough before your chin bone, this thing bugs me. Back to your collarbones. I'm going to use 2 fingers this time. I mean, 2 hands this time, just because I can. This thing. And then the other point that I showed you, let's cross and just go along the rib cage. This thing. There you go. So if you would be so kind as just to go ahead and put that all together really fast. We already did this part. I'm just going to put some more emphasis on these. This thing, top of head. This thing at my eyebrow. This thing bugs me on the side of your eye. This thing that bugs me underneath. And go to your nose. This thing. And your lips. This thing. And your collarbones. This thing bugs me. And swoop across. This thing really bugs me. And that's it. So I did 2 rounds, just like I did on the others, just to see what you might observe. What did you notice about that? And if you need to, you may or may not need to, take a look at your paper, because I'm looking at mine right now, and I'm noticing, okay, and I'm also noticing how I felt it in my body. Earlier, I said it was a bouncing thought. That's what I wrote down. But right now, it's not a bouncing thought. It feels like it's actually helpful. It's like a helpful reminder. I don't know how I got that, but by tapping and agreeing to become aware, this is where I'm at about that thing that was bothering me when I just joined you today. However, I already know how I feel. I want to know how you feel. How did what you thought about a few minutes ago and wrote on your piece of paper, how did that show up in your body now? What is it doing now in your body? And maybe what happened when you held that simple truth? This thing bugs me. Can anybody share with me? And if they want to, I'll even do a demo with you, but we can keep it pretty private. Don't worry. But it will give you a chance to go a little bit more specifically on that thing that bugs you if you want to, without having to share it. But right now, I was just interested. Did anybody have anything to say about that little exercise we just did? Simple truth, tapping on those 8 acupuncture points twice. That was it. That's all we did.
I do, can I?
Yes, please.
And this is I want to make sure I emphasize this like I shared the other day.
Mm-hmm.
When I was first learning this, all those years ago, I got in my own way.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working with folks, I would go beyond the simple truth. I was trying to intellectualize. I was trying to sound like super therapist or way smarter than I actually am.
Dr. Tonema.
Yeah, I was trying to be Dr. Tonema guy, but come to find out, if I just pared it down to what it was, rather than having a because statement in there, which just threw the whole thing off. Mm-hmm. When I'm trying to intellectualize, and we do this to ourselves too. We try to rationalize it and fit this square peg into this thing here, and that's where like distress is occurring because it's not fitting. But I keep doing it. I'm saying because, and it was very limiting. So I encourage myself and you as well that just keep it as the very bottom line, simple truth. That's going to get you a lot further. Like I always like to tell folks, if we could have thought our way out of it, we would have by now. So just paring it down. There you go. I'll stop talking.
No, well, you're free to talk at any time, but I think what you're illustrating so beautifully is lots of these things are simply not a cognitive problem. So using my cognitive toolbox is kind of destined to failure, or at least frustration, right? Kind of like that old joke about if you see everything as a hammer or a nail. I forgot what it was already. But the idea is, if I've only got one tool, then I'm going to keep trying to use that one. This is about expanding your toolbox. And the coolest thing about it is they're so simple, and they're so fast. They're so in the moment. They're so immediate, and they can be so very personal. That's what I like about it. Anybody else can help us out with what's going on for them? Anybody out there? I don't know, Daryl. I think we're alone. Oh, no, Nicole's with us still. Thank goodness. I'm not picking on you, Nicole. You don't have to do anything. I just was remarking that it's wonderful to see another human being out there. Don't worry. You don't have to do anything.
I think part of a big part of it is just recognize the information that the body's giving, and then recognizing any shift in that.
Beautiful. I love that. Shift. Anybody seen my bumper sticker? It says shift happens. I really appreciate that. And if you would entertain Daryl's assessment, if I thought less about it and just told myself what appears to be the simple truth right in front of me, and I just gave myself 120 seconds to play with it, I might find that I'm in a different place. Shift has occurred or is occurring, and that's going to help me in whatever way is going to be useful for you. That's going to help me feel better, so I'm not really focused on my stomach. That's going to help me feel better because actually I don't know what to do about this. That's going to help me get through this, maybe even. So that's what I wanted to say about what Daryl was showing you, because I came to it the same way. I had all sorts of psych school ideas about this, oh, that's because, but I didn't need it. That's not to say it's not useful. It's to say not for this moment, for this time. This might be all I need to get back on track with what I need to do. Right. So is there anybody who wants to do a demo on this? You don't have to, but if you want to do it, I promise you, we will not go into your business any more than what I just said. This thing is like that. That's the entire sum of the language I'm going to use. Why? Because I've developed this by doing peer-to-peer programs for all kinds of people, including vets who would like support, but they don't necessarily want anybody getting in their business. So this is a great way. Dahlia?
I'll do it, but do I need to be on camera?
You don't have to. It's great if you are, because I have
Okay,
somebody to look at.
Okay, give me just a second. One second. Sorry.
No problem.
Okay. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see me, but I am here. Okay.
Okay. Yay! It's Dahlia.
Hi.
See your face here. There you go.
And I'm gonna unraise my hand. Okay, go
Great.
for it.
Okay, so Dahlia, thank you. Number one.
You're welcome.
Number two, I hope that you will feel the proof in the pudding of this and be able to do this with a colleague. This is my fondest desire. So let's just do it together. When I say, do you have something on your mind that is bothersome to you? It's a yes or no. It doesn't mean.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Okay, very good. I got worried there, right? Okay. And how about if you just put a phrase in your mind that it sort of encapsulates it, right? Just like I showed you a minute ago, I put the packing. It's just a phrase to help me keep it together.
So can I just tell you what mine is, just to see if I'm in the right ballgame? I said,
You like?
it's okay. Mine changed a lot from when I first wrote it down, but it's okay. So kind of like an okayness of it.
Okay. So what, I just want to make sure I'm on the right track. Whatever this thing is, it's okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't okay when I logged in.
Okay. And so is it fair to say, because I want to actually help support you in this, is it fair to say that it's better than it was?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All
there
right.
was a shift.
Which is implicit to me is there's probably some left, but it's better than it was.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was definitely a shift.
Got it. Beautiful. Okay. And so whatever's left of that, I'd like you to kind of gauge in your mind. You don't have to share it with me if you don't want to. Okay. But just about how much is left. And
I started with a 6 and I think I'm at a 3.
Okay, great. Thanks. Perfect. So that's all the information I'm going to gather to work with Dahlia, everybody. Okay. And so that means you can too with your colleague or your friend. And let's do this. Dahlia, would you tap with me on the side of your hand there, right where we were? And the only words we're going to put to it are really simple ones. And we're going to say this, even though that thing is better than it was.
Even though that thing is better than it was.
There's still a little bit left.
There's still a little bit left.
I accept that.
I accept that.
Even though this thing is better.
Even though this thing is better.
There's some left.
There's some left.
Maybe like a 3.
Maybe like a 3.
Even though this thing is better than it was.
Even though this thing is better than it was.
I did feel a shift.
Did feel a shift.
And there's only a little bit left.
And there's only a little bit left.
Right. And so I'm just sharing this with you, Dahlia. I'm not adding really anything to it. I'm just stating the obvious in a couple of different ways. That's really it. Right. And so how about if I say a little bit left?
A little bit left.
Would that do?
Yeah.
Okay,
a
great.
little bit left.
That's our focus. There's a little bit left.
There's a little bit left.
And let's go to the eyebrow. There's a little bit left.
There's a little bit left.
Great. And the side of the eye, there is a
There's
little bit left.
There's a little bit left.
Beautiful. And under the eye, a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And under the nose, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And under the lips, there's a little bit left.
There's a little bit left.
And 2 more points, those collarbones, little bit.
Little bit.
And let's do that last one underneath the arms. There is a little bit left. That's true.
There is a little bit left.
And so in keeping with the theme we've been rocking today, you don't have to do more than one, but I've been doing 2 little quickie rounds, right? So a little bit.
A little bit.
Right? Same thing we're working on, a little bit.
Little bit.
There's a little bit left.
There's a little bit left.
Just a little bit.
Just a little.
Just a little left.
Just a little left.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little.
And last point, there's a little bit left. That's true.
There's a little bit left.
Now I want to ask you, Dahlia, would you please bring lightly to mind the thing that you had a moment ago? Okay. It was bothersome. It wasn't okay. Now it's kind of okay. Felt the shift. Where am I now? And we're just noticing what we notice. Any answer is fine.
Acceptance.
Very
and almost
good.
gratitude. Almost gratitude.
Beautiful.
Not quite there yet, but almost.
Yeah. And so I think that that's, by the way, a huge shift. I'm just saying, I think that's a huge shift from bothersome to acceptance and almost gratitude. Is a huge spectral shift to me. Thank you very much for doing this, by the way. I really appreciate it. May I hear from anybody else who has a question about that or statement about it or wanted to share their experience of either doing that for Dahlia or doing it on their own stuff, which is what I promised you in borrowing benefits. Something might be shifting for you too. So I know I'm out of time. I want to value your time, but I want to also see if there's anything else to share on this that you'd be willing to share. Anybody? It's the quietest group I've ever had, I must say. But
I don't want to speak out of turn because I know I've spoken before, but
it's okay.
I think the things that come to mind when you say, you know, think of something that's bothering you,
Mhm.
I feel such a need to figure out with my cognitive toolbox. Like that really resonated with me, trying to make sense of things,
Yeah.
because if I can't make sense of things, I feel overwhelmed by them. But
Mhm.
feeling good knowing that sometimes making sense of things isn't the most helpful in that situation, and making sure that you feel safe and stable is more important.
Thank you so much. I couldn't have said that any better. I'm pretty sure that you were a gift to me today. Thank you for saying that. But Emma, may I say this back to you? I think sometimes we get confused. Well, if it's not a cognitive problem, how am I going to sort it out? And we get all kerfuffled. Definitely a professional word there, right? All kerfuffled. But the truth is, when I can get myself to what you said, safe, stabilized, self-regulated, guess what happens? The cognitive opens up to me because I've taken all the tension and the stress off the system. And it's possible now for me to work out several different kinds of solutions or resources that I have, and those might be of a more cognitive nature. So using the somatic and the body to work on the mind is kind of backwards from what we think when we're trained cognitively, like I was. But now that I turn it over and I try that, is that at all relating to your experience, Emma?
Yeah, and you know, that's even kind of using the practices we were talking about today and applying it to this situation. It's like
Yeah.
doing the cognitive when you're actually ready for it.
Yes. Score. Thank you so much. That was really, really helpful to me to hear in this group, and I appreciate it. And group, is there anything else that you would like me to say about this before I tell you that I'm going to be sending to Daryl, who's going to pass along to you? I'm going to send you a very simple tapping chart, a very simple sort of tapping algorithm, so you can just drop things in until it starts feeling really normal with you. But I'd love you to try it out on yourself before I see you again next week, I hope. And I would love you to bring any questions that you have, because you may not have them right now, but I hope that by next week, we'll have some tasty questions. And I'd be so happy and honored to do any of that. Anybody else have anything else to say before I say good night? And I hope you have a great week, and I'll send some paperwork.
Thank you for a wonderful session.
Oh,
Thank you very much. And how will you be sending us that?
I'm going to send it to Daryl because I actually don't have Annie's thread, I don't think. So to make sure that that goes to the right place, I think I'll just send it to Daryl, and if he copies Annie on it, that would do. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I think Annie has everybody's emails to sign.
Perfect. Well, she is the conduit, and I will be sending it that way then. Okay. So you'll have some things. I'll send them tonight. Okay. And maybe you'll have them tomorrow.
Anything you want to add, Annie?
So I just want to say thank you, Jondi, so very much. You are a peaceful force of light out there. And,
Thank you.
I thank everybody for joining us today. And deep appreciation to those of you that took the risk and turned your cameras on. That's always just a real challenge. And it's 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. So yay team for that. I put Dr. Daryl Tonema's email address in the chat here. And so any of you that would like to reach out to him, please do so. His chat or his email is dptonema@gmail.com. And then all of you have registered through Eventbrite. And so through there, I will send you off an email. And please let us know if you have any questions. And again, if you're interested in the CEUs, send me a note and I will make sure that you get the registration form. And whoever Bradley Cooper is, dude, what a great name.
I know.
I'm the English version.
Excuse me?
The English version.
I said I'm the English version.
All righty
like
then.
Tom Hardy. I sound more like Tom Hardy.
Well, welcome. We're really happy to have all of you that have joined us. And Dr. Darrell, as always, thank you. And I'll turn it over to you for your last words.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll be sure to get the information. We'll be back here, same time, next Thursday. And this is today was the foundation, and we're going to build and build and build. As Jondi and I talk while we're not on screen during the week, the intention is that you have this tool and you feel adept and confident to use it on yourself. And I always tell folks that you have internal tools for healing, and this is just, we're trying to help you access them. So thank you, everyone. Let's take care of each other, and we'll see you here next Thursday.
Thank you, everybody. If for some reason you got on here without registering, please put your email in the chat. Be kind, everybody. Have a great weekend.